Thank you so much, Susie. That was amazing. That's exactly what I needed to
Me too.
get in the mood
Get in this mood. Here we are.
and just relax a little bit. We're so grateful to have you again. Thank you so much for joining us. Julie, who do we have next?
Up next is our keynote speaker, Dr. Erin Haskell. She is an author, the founder of Society. She is a female entrepreneur. She was named by Forbes as one of the 11 most aspirational women to watch on Instagram. She is a dear friend and an inspiration, an incredible person, and I can't wait for you to listen to her speak to us.
And we're also being joined today by one of our new friends and special friends, Jasmine Campbell. She is an entertainment veteran, a writer, producer, also a screenwriter, and an advocate for social justice, specifically in the LGBTQIA community. And also was a part of the education community for the Biden-Harris campaign. So we're very grateful and lucky to have you, Jasmine. So what we're going to do is we're going to be listening to Dr. Erin, our keynote speaker. We're going to learn. We're going to just get all the resources. And then we're going to have a little Q&A between Jasmine, myself, and Julie afterwards. So let's get to it, Dr. Erin. Thank you so much for being here. And let's get started.
Amazing. I'm so incredibly honored to be here with all of you guys here and everybody watching. I know that we're going through some really intense times right now on the planet. And my greatest intention right now is to have us get grounded in truth, have us really step back into purpose, which we're going to discover what that is today. Okay. So I invite each and every one of us here and everyone watching to just take a deep breath in through the nose. Getting in that presence, getting in that power, allowing the breath to really energize every cell of our body. You can exhale out when it works for you, through the mouth. Take another deep, deep breath into the nose. Take as much air as you possibly can take in. Getting the spine erect so that you can actually be tapped into 2 feet on the ground to get really grounded on Mother Earth into the finite of the finite, and allowing your spine to be erect so that you can also bring the energy out into the infinite, into the universe, your higher self, the truth of who you are. And in this presence, I recognize there's one power, one divine oneness, one unity, which is love, which is the presence that has created all of life. And it outpictures in creating heaven and hell. We're in this beautiful relative experience. And I recognize for as many hard times that we've gone through right now, there's just as many beautiful things, including the baby in Zule's body, to this incredible set that we've built here, everyone, all this beautiful, all the people involved, everyone here. I just say yes. I say yes to all the new creations, all the new creations. And in this, we release the strife. We release the control of how to figure it out. We simply know the truth in this divine breath, releasing out as together we say, and so it is.
Yes.
And so I'm so honored to be here. The intention I wanted to bring here is to help everyone get grounded in their purpose. Because I know for me, in the middle of, these difficult times, there was days when I was like, whoa, this is intense. And I know that whether you are, going through financial issues through this, or whether you've had relationship kind of ups and downs, or whether you've had some health things, or whether you're just in fear of the future, where you've gone through equality issues and political things and financial things and all those things, life doing life. What I know for sure is the one thing that kind of saved me through the entire thing is getting back to service and getting back to purpose and getting back to our missions and our messages. And so today, my intention is to help you get clear of how to get clear of your purpose, whether it be just to be present for the day or building a family or building a soul business or whatever that is. Today, we're going to teach the purpose formula so that you can powerfully walk away today with some actionable tools to implement through your daily spiritual practice, through doing your inner work, and through realizing where you really want to put your energy into this next year. Okay, so let's just take one more deep breath into the nose and exhaling out. Okay. So purpose formula goes like this. There's 3 parts to the purpose formula. And is this the truth? Well, it is something I've used on thousands of people around the globe and even children. So it's 3 things. The first thing is triumph. And triumph comes out of your hardest things you've ever gone through, your trauma, whether it be in this lifetime, or if you believe in last lifetimes, or if you just say scientifically your epigenetics on your DNA. But the triumph actually comes from your actual lineage, your DNA. So we're here marrying the DNA with your passion, your talents, your genius of this life, right? So the purpose statement is actually these two things, which is your DNA, which is your triumph. Everything you've ever gone through, the hardest things you've ever gone through, become your triumph. So the hardest things we ever go through are actually the greatest blessings of our life. And the second thing is passion. So my question for you with this is, we're going to dive into what it means, what you're passionate about, okay? And then there's a third thing. And the third thing is really your skill set or your talent, what you're really good at, right? Some people have a passion, they love to speak. Others want to just, like coordinate people. Other people love to do detail stuff, and we're going to get into that, okay? So if you're watching this, you may want to take notes, or we're going to walk you through this 3-step process right now, okay? So my question for you is to ask yourself, and if you want to get vulnerable, what is the hardest thing you've ever gone through? And I don't know if you want me to be a little interactive, lovely ladies here, if you want me to just keep going through, but we could do a little interactive thing if you want.
Ooh, Jasmine.
You don't have to if you don't want. You can if you want. What's the hardest thing you've ever been through, Jasmine?
Wow. Okay. Let's see. We're gonna get vulnerable. Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Geez. Okay. One of the hardest things. My family. Watching my dad go to prison.
Okay. Thank
when
you
I was
for being
a kid.
so vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and so real. And so, Jasmine, do you feel like you've healed that all the way, or do you feel like there's still healing around that? How are you feeling about that?
I feel like there's still healing around that.
Okay, thank you. So we want to understand the triumph. What have been the takeaways? What's been the biggest lesson out of that?
With my adult brain sort of synopsizing it all, I would say the notion that there's life after that trauma and that particular pain. In the moment, it didn't feel that way. Of course, I was a child, but still it didn't feel that way.
Thank you so much. Okay. So this indicates right now that Jasmine, one of her purposes is to actually heal. Because if we haven't had full triumph over the hardest thing, then everybody's purpose is to heal. And I'm imagining, Yasmin, you've healed somewhat because clearly you are a purpose-driven, you have a purpose-driven life. So clearly you've done some healing and some, shifting and healing around that, okay? So I'm going to ask you the next question, Jasmine, which is passion. So if you won $100 million, what would you spend your time doing?
I would spend my time really fixing families and assuring that families are stay together and are resilient. So just especially kids and their parents. Mm-hmm.
Great. Clearly this is your passion. We know, I can feel it, energetically. And then the third is, what would you say is kind of, what's a place in your life where you lose track of time? What are you doing when you lose track of time?
I'm generally writing or advocating, fighting for others in that sense.
Okay, great. So we recognize the triumph that Jasmine is around persevering past anything, the hardest thing in your life, the perseverance. That's kind of like the triumph that she's learned, the takeaway of that thing. Her passion is helping families stay together. And then thirdly is writing. So Yasmin, I don't really even know what you do exactly, but let's
I don't know that some days.
I'm sure you already do, but it may even bloom even more into a purpose, right, Jasmine? So what do you feel like is your highest of your highest? If money was of no object and you are creating your purpose in this lifetime out of those three things, brainstorming for a moment, what do you think it is for you?
100% unequivocally, it would be literally to heal the family wounds. That's it. It just to provide a space where other families don't have to worry about finances or anything like that, just to let them be and let them share together. That's what it would be for me.
Beautiful, right? So now what do we do, right? I mean, this is so beautiful. And I recognize that we don't try and figure out how, okay? The universe, we call it outlining. One of our jobs and the biggest mistake or things that have people sabotage living their dream life is that they try and figure out how am I going to do this? This is too hard. This is too much. How am I going to, make money doing this? How am I going to, whatever it may be, right? We don't ask that. We stand firm in that vision. And we know the truth. So, Jasmine, I'm just going to hold that truth in my heart and mind. And what I know, you're already doing this work for sure. But my invitation is for you to let go of the way we think control is and allow the universe to bring this purpose at a dynamic that is miraculous, meaning it goes beyond our belief system, our current belief system. Are you open for that, Jasmine?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. I keep calling you Yasmin just the way your name is spelled, but it's so beautiful. So thank you for walking through that with us. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing. I'm sure that was a very difficult experience for you. And I know that you would never have gone through that if you weren't going through that to learn the lessons to help others that are going through similar things. So thank you for living a purpose-driven life for sure. Yes. Yes. Okay, so everyone out there, I just want to invite you to take that into your life and maybe take some time during this time to kind of think about, a lot of us get to recreate our lives out of this. People are moving around the planet. Some people have lost their jobs, which can be a blessing in disguise because we have to recreate from so much new ways of maybe even having financial things that we're going through, transitioning in our culture, having new systems, new ways of life. And so I invite each and every one to say that it's just as easy to create a whole new, life based on purpose than it is off of one that was off of the program of what our culture said. So I know that all of this is a blessing in disguise. It's tested us in so many ways. And I recognize that the soul revival really is just revealing the truth. And so I do invite each and every one to know that if you don't know your purpose, if you don't really know what that is, there's only one purpose. If you're not clear what your purpose is, it is to discover your purpose, which means healing your trauma and really birthing the truth. Okay. So we have a little bit more time. I'm going to go through any questions on that, Julia or Zule, before I'm going to go to another formula for everyone to implement into their life.
Questions?
I'm sitting here taking notes. First of all, Jasmine, I want to thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable and sharing that part, a very deep part of your personal life with us. And although I don't share that very exact experience, I can empathize with you with the family breakup because it's something that still needs some healing in me today. So you brought me to a very vulnerable point in my life. I love, Dr. Erin, that you said soul revival is about revealing truth, right? About everything in our life that we inevitably push back and don't address, and we hide with a smile. And this just really opened up a whole other inner dialogue for me as it pertains to really what the mission with Modern Muze is. And this is a big part of our why. And it's been there, but you articulated it in such a beautiful way. Another thing that I want to add and just share, because we're being vulnerable.
Yeah.
I recently, COVID has been hard for me in that the best thing happened to me at the beginning of last year is I became pregnant. I planned it, and then I lost my baby. And in the middle of so much adversity, in the middle of so much trauma and instability that we were all feeling at the macro level of society, to add that to the mix was a lot for me. So there is a lot of healing around that I feel like I need to do. So this conversation is just opening. I mean, as you can see, it's kind of really opening me up to acknowledging that there's things. I'm 7 months pregnant right now, almost 8, and life is good. But I think that there's, like you said, Dr. Erin, the purpose is to our purpose is to continuously heal from our trauma and move forward and use that to catapult us into service to others, which is what Modern Muze is all about. So thank you for bringing that full circle for me. I appreciate it.
For you and your family, and for you to birth in a high consciousness child. So I could not be happier. I'm so thrilled for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm the happiest girl around. Jules, Amazing. What are you adding?
I think what I want to add is, well, I can't wait for you to go. I want to learn more from you. But I guess it's just a testament, and I wasn't even really planning on talking about this, but I was a member of Dr. Erin certified me in coaching, but that's because I started doing trauma healing with her. And I guess what I have to say is sometimes it starts with a big one. You know, mine was the loss of my boyfriend to gun violence, something that I didn't even think I would want to touch or knew how to touch. And then I learned this process and I learned how to heal the trauma. And it's amazing how other things just start to come to the surface. And once you practice this and have it down, you really do realize that every trauma, every experience is there to propel you further and just for more self-discovery and more self-growth. So I even just listening to Jasmine and to you, it's incredible. It's empowering healing.
Yeah. It's by design. Everything is by design, right?
For sure. Absolutely. And I think that what we find is, like, I don't know if you guys experience this, but I remember years back when I began to do meditation and awakening and all this stuff, and I'd have these blissed out states. I'd be so blissed out. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so enlightened, you know? And then what would happen? And I'd get triggered. And I was like, wait, but what happened to that girl that was so cool and had no issue with living? And so
where did it go?
Right? And so what I find is that the issue is this, not the issue, but the opportunity in spiritual work is to also deal with the body. We're dealing with the subconscious mind. We're dealing with the cellular level of the DNA. And when we go into meditation, we oftentimes will go to that ethereal realm because we're kind of like almost having an out-of-body experience. But the goal is to have that enlightenment state in the body, no matter what happens in the body. So we actually want to go in and do the trauma work, because the trauma work is kind of like, it keeps charge. It's actually in epigenetics. They found that the charge of basically from all trauma of all lifetimes lives in us. So it doesn't matter if you believe in past lives or not. It's a scientific fact. And the point is that this charge is on our track, and it's actually what's turning on or off our genetic code also, because what happens as we have trauma on our DNA, it strangles the DNA and it makes it hard to read. And as we do our trauma work, we actually take the charge off and the DNA actually expands, and we're actually able to read all of our DNA. So imagine, what's possible when we're not being reactive, when we're not, going to fight or flight, when we're living in the state of where we're able to stay in that blissful state in our body, no matter if something's really difficult happening in the world or not. And that's when we know also the body is able to heal, because we're, staying in that state where we're able to heal also. So we see miracles in people's finances. We see miracles in their health. We see miracles in their relationships. We see miracles in all of it. So being a person of purpose, having a soul revival is really about knowing yourself and being the highest version of yourself. And that takes work. You know what I mean? So I'm so honored that you guys have an incredible platform where people can be in community, because community is so important, because you and I and Jasmine and Yule and all you guys, literally we hold each other in consciousness. Okay. We literally create each other metaphysically, our friends, into existence. So yes, the most important thing is for you to surround yourself with incredible human beings that only see you as your potential, that aren't holding you in limitation. And we just create each other. So today, let's just take a deep breath in through the nose again. And I just want to acknowledge right now that the subconscious mind is such a powerful thing. The subconscious mind is the soul, and the subconscious mind is running the show, right? I mean, it's like 97% of everything we're doing is subconsciously based. And the subconscious mind is connected with the subjective mind, which is one and the same as universal law. So I recognize whatever trauma we've gone through, if we believe you're not enough, or something's wrong, or I'm divided, then the universe is going to say, and so it is. And so as we heal those traumas, as we reveal the truth of who we are and release those limited beliefs, the universe just says, yes, you are divine. You are divinely connected as one. And in this, we are set free because we are no longer realizing we are not these bodies. We're not the circumstances that are on this planet. We're none of that. We are great, divine, infinite spiritual beings. And we're here to do great things and create in the masterpiece called life. I mean, look at where I am. Look at this beautiful setting here. We're creators. That's what we are. And so I simply know this. As together we say, and so it is. So I do have one more little, if you guys want me to, or we can just do a little Q&A, wherever you guys want to go.
I want to hear what you want to teach.
Just 3 things to make sense of how we're creating energy into form, okay? There's only 3 ways that we create, and it's through negative, neutral, and positive. Oof. A negative sign, a 0 sign, and a positive sign, okay? And the only way we're doing that is we're creating through an inverted way. So we have a negative way, which is a high state. The moment we create and we decide a positive or negative meaning, we instantaneously have a positive negative experience. And the high state of a negative experience is the emotion through trauma. It's the meaning we put around it, backed by a decision. I'm not enough, something's wrong, I don't want to live, I can't do this, whatever that is. And that imprints upon the subconscious mind. So in order to take that, we need to bring it to the neutrality, which is the 0. We call it the God factor, right? Not some man in the sky, but that essence, that soul within us, that spirit within. So we want to bring it to neutral. And then we want to bring it to the positive, because the neutral brings it back to the I am, the all infinite essence that we are. That's who we are, the I am. But we also bring it to the positive, which means I'm a unique divine individual, and I get to be a unique expression, just like this flower right here and here is the only, it's unique to itself. Not one other flower in this entire universe is like that flower, and not one other person is like all 3 of you, okay? So we bring it back to the positive, which means we decide what we want to create in this life. We decide the expression that we are. We decide what we want to stand for. We decide all that. So our real goal is to take all that negative of anything that's limited, if you will, neutralize it, and then put it into the positive through daily spiritual practice, through doing your trauma work, through declarations, and really deciding what it is that you truly want for your life. So there's a little metaphor, I guess you could say, for your life.
Yes. Dr. Erin, can I ask you for a favor? For when you say trauma work, I know that Julie is familiar with that. I am too, and obviously Jasmine is too. But if there's a listener that's new to this work, can you give a couple of simple pointers? I want to address everyone in the room, whether you've been, in this work for a long time, you're interested, or you're just checking it out. Can you give us a couple of pointers in what direction to go?
Yeah. So there's different types of trauma. Obviously, there's physical trauma, there's emotional trauma. There can be trauma from, stresses from biological stuff, but the trauma we're talking about is emotional trauma. So it's, everyone, if you're a human being, you have a trauma, meaning that it's a high state of emotion backed by a limited belief or backed by a lie. That's what trauma is. And it stays on the track. It stays in the subconscious, on the mental pictures, on the Akashic records, or on the DNA, whichever you want to say, by a charge, an actual charge, because it is actually being held there by the decision that you made that is creating it into existence as resistance in the body. So as we neutralize that resistance, then we begin to release it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Jazz, go ahead.
We're always on the same page.
No, I wanted to ask Jasmine, I know that you do a lot of work around social justice. How do you incorporate some of these conversations into your work in that space?
You mean in regards to
in regards to the trauma with social inequities that we're dealing with in society right now? How are you, as a leader in that space, creating change, and how are you dealing with the trauma aspect of it with the people that you're working with?
Well, thank you for that. Well, like Dr. Erin here, it enables me to have a language. It gives me this language of empathy, especially since I am, I guess, a trauma survivor, or continue to get through that. But it allows me to build a bridge and to really develop a language of empathy and understanding. So what this work has enabled me to do is, and I guess I'm I'd like to finish answering this question, because I really would love to see what Dr. Erin thinks about this. With epigenetics, you just mentioned that our body holds the stress of trauma as resistance. I can totally attribute to that. Zulay, I saw you going, yeah, like because my body, and especially as a woman, being so innately just in tune with my body, and so much happens, monthly, right? Like, wow. So I'm always like aware of what's happening, whether I want it to happen or not. I'm wondering, Dr. Erin, because this to me helps to understand about my own work with this social justice thing. There's been, and I was not aware of this, even being Afro-Latina, I was not aware of this myself, living in this sort of being now, and this physical sort of incarnation, that anyone who's either a person of color, in particular Blacks and brown people in America, carry with them, 2 to 3 generations of trauma in their DNA. We've heard of that. I'm wondering, with your expertise and how one starts to get through that, because I feel now with this social justice movement, with all this impact, it's wonderful to have this language, because the language validates. It's a validation that everyone can access it. And the way that I can really plug into that is I started writing a social justice horror thriller before lockdown, and I remember overwriting it because I couldn't articulate. I had to write it as a how-to guide, but then unfortunately, after the whole social justice movement last summer, with the passing of George Floyd, rest in peace, I felt like the whole world understood a certain language. And then I had to go back to that script, back to the drawing board, and I didn't have to write it. So I didn't have to over explain it. The language was already in the ethos. It was there. And I'm wondering what you think about, Dr. Erin, about the healing of all of that, because I think it's all tied into the social justice movement, and also to what Zulay was just asking me. So I don't know. That's a lot of questions. But.
No, I get it. And it's complex regardless, right? So absolutely, whether you believe in past lives or not, we hold the trauma of all generations, not 2 generations, all generations. And it's heavy. It's heavy. That's why you can go to some cultures and they literally, you can feel they're just happier. There's other cultures that are heavier. There's a sadness. And it's an atmosphere of the collective of that community, because we're collective consciousness as well. And we've got DNA memory, and then you and we're all connected as well. So we've got a collective consciousness. We have race consciousness. We have cosmic consciousness. We're one. Scientifically, we're one. It doesn't matter what color we are, whatever. And we absolutely need to acknowledge and have empathy and put things into effect legally to make sure of our oneness and our rights. Having said that, spiritually, it's time to heal. So no matter what legal goes in that makes it correct for equality, no matter what we do, we still need to heal. We need to heal the lineage. And so, yes, that's where, Jasmine, doing your inner trauma work, we actually go into past life regressions. And past life regressions are fascinating because it's really fantasy. It is fantasy. And as Einstein said, our fantasy is the greatest faculty we have. Children know this. They live in fantasy. It's actually incorrect how we make it about the facts are out there. It's not. We create the reality from within, and fantasy is our greatest faculty. So we go into past life regressions through fantasy, because it doesn't matter what the mental pictures are. What matters is the emotions around the mental pictures. And as we go in there and neutralize the most horrific things that have happened in our lineage, in your lineage, Jasmine, the amount of trauma and murders and slavery and heartbreak and, illness, that all of that is, you deserve to be freed of that. You deserve true freedom, which is neutralizing all that and taking, because trauma minus emotions equals wisdom. And as you become that wise woman with that great, you are standing on the shoulders of the greatest of the greatest. And you become somebody who is absolutely untouchable, unstoppable, and an icon to be the voice for all of your lineage. To say, hear me effing roar, okay?
Yeah.
That is your birthright. That's your birthright.
Trauma minus emotions equals wisdom. I think that is my biggest takeaway from this conversation. Well, no, there was so much. I just want to touch a little bit on you mentioned epigenetics, and I was reading a lot of Joe Dispenza before I got pregnant. Now I'm reading a lot of pregnant. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about up-leveling your genetics. So there's a way that we can work within our subconscious to create healing from all of that. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know you know the stuff in and out.
Because we just were teaching about parenting and children in our practitioner this week. And it's so fascinating because I was pulling in some of Joe Dispenza's work as well, because the reality is that we're not our personalities.
No, he's so fascinating too. I'm so happy we're talking about it.
Your baby, Zule, that comes in, what is that personality? That personality is the sum total of all the choices of emotions and traits that have come through. That baby that's coming through is a pure spirit. And it's actually not that personality. And that we get to, it's really fascinating. And character is based on, habitual, habitual traits that we do. So the point is that baby with the parents, if you and your husband really, I highly recommend that you, and it begins before you get pregnant, of course, but if you can get as intentional as you possibly can right now, doing as much breath work, doing as much as it is to stay in neutrality in your emotions right now for the rest of your pregnancy. It is the most important time that you will ever parent is right now.
Oh, Dr. Erin, staying neutral with my emotions. I'm writing. I'm sorry. I know we're hosting, and I'm a
learning and growing.
You can't just try and be neutral. You've got to go in and actually neutralize the trauma and neutralize the stuff. So it's authentic, because you can pretend. We pretend all the time, like, oh, it's all good, it's all whatever. You want to pretend to not be upset and just suppress it. That's not neutralization.
That's what I just said. That we're so good at collectively, is pretending. And I'm going to work on this wholeheartedly. I'm so grateful for this bit of information, and that will help with the genetic code of my baby starting from the time in my womb.
1,000%. Your baby, especially when, as Joe Dispenza gives a talk on it, that when the sperm and egg come together, the first imprinting is where whatever the emotion is right there,
Yeah, it's actually making me emotional, like for you, this little baby.
Yeah.
That's
no pressure there. No pressure as a parent.
She's moving around, and she's enjoying this conversation too. She's very active right now.
Well, I don't want to keep you any longer because this time is precious, but I've learned so much. I know all the viewers are going to learn so much. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Jasmine, for joining us and being vulnerable and opening up and sharing your story.
Yes, I have something that I want to position here potentially.
What do you want to position?
If you are a viewer and you're interested in Dr. Erin's work and you want to get connected and you want to continue the conversation, maybe after the event we can create I don't know. I just love this conversation so much. There's so much good synergy here that
and her organization is Soulciety.
So we definitely want to continue to work with you, Dr. Erin. I know our listeners I'm blown away. Dr. Erin, you're incredible. I have all these notes. Jasmine, is there anything that you want to
acknowledge Jasmine so much for all the work that you do, Jasmine. Thank you so much for who you are and just everything. And thank you so much, Zule and Julie. Thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing. I freaking adore you guys so much.
Love you so much. Thank you.
Jasmine, any closing words from you, my love?
Yes. Ready? I don't know if you can see this, but you are loved.
I love that.
You are loved, guys.
Indeed we are.
Beautiful. All right, everyone.
Okay, let's move on to our next segment. Let's have some fun. We have some fun coming up. Should we? What do we have coming?
No,
we have a performance.
Let it be a surprise.
We're surprising you.
Yeah, all kinds of things.
Thanks, guys. See you in a bit.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.